Hey everybody, we're back. We're live on Equal Time. I'm Mark Pravratsky, and we're here for a Summer League show because we have an outstanding young player joining us, Josslyn Weissman, who plays for Manitou FC. Jojo, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So we're talking to you now, and Manitou's season is wrapped up. You guys
Yeah.
played the last of your games, but I have to think I don't know, how we could search this. I have to think you might have been the youngest player in WPSL this year, or one of
Yeah.
them. So, because are you 15?
I'm 15, yeah, but when we
Yeah.
first started, I was 14 and then my birthday happened.
Yeah, I was up. Yeah, the soccer I was playing at 15 was different. But yeah, so
Yeah.
how did you get connected to Manitou to get this chance to play with them?
So I've known Eddie Burrow since I was about 9 years old, and I trained at Corver, and one of his colleagues was my trainer, and so he connected me with Eddie. And throughout the years, me and Eddie were training over the summer for hours and for weeks.
Hmm.
And soon I switched from MTA to Salvo, and I still connected with Eddie. And then I played at Salvo for a year, and then I had a knee injury, so then I was kind of out. So I was kind of just picking and choosing between if I wanted to stay or if I wanted to try something different. And so since we knew Eddie, we were like, okay, we're gonna give Manitou a chance. And so then we
Hmm.
switched, and I kind of just grew from there. And I was more of connected to the coaches,
Hmm.
and I just kind of knew everybody. And so then from there, Eddie gave me the chance to play for the WPSL team.
Yeah, it's cool. And obviously you've been playing at a high level, I mean, with the academies that you've worked with,
Yes.
but it's a whole nother skill. I mean, you're playing with, some of these women are
Yeah.
22 or 23.
Yeah.
So just what was the biggest adjustment and how was the speed of play that when you first started training and playing those games?
The biggest adjustment, I guess, was getting used to okay, I'm playing with 20-year-olds. And Eddie also had to let them know that I was 14 because they didn't know that I was younger either. So I guess just trying to find that connection with them. And I was outgoing when I first met them. So it just kind of made it easier to talk to them and make some connections and learn from them too. Cause I started to look up to them. I know
Mm-hmm.
my goalkeeper, I was very I really, really liked her. And so
Mm-hmm.
I started to get closer with her. And then my change of play, I guess I had to learn to be more comfortable with the ball and not always have to give it away right away, because I always felt watching the older girls, they were super fast and they
Mm-hmm.
made it look super easy, just doing one touches and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
during practice, I had to tell myself okay, just calm down and just act like it's a normal practice, act
Mm-hmm.
like you're with your O7 team. So I just had to learn to just calm it down a little bit.
Yeah, not force it. Well, it's hard. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like when you play anyone who's experienced that playing up,
Right.
it's
Right.
definitely a thing. Or like, I can remember being in junior high track competing against people like a couple
Yeah.
years older. And I'm like, they look a lot bigger than me. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's natural. But I mean, the team was pretty competitive too. I mean, you
Yeah.
play the traditional powers that you already mentioned having connected with before. Salvo and
Yeah.
Minnesota Thunder are always good. But I mean, they were really blowing some teams out this summer. I mean,
Yeah,
big
that's what I heard.
wins 5 and 6, but you guys were really competitive in your games. I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think Manitou did well this year that kept you competitive?
I think we learned how to play with each other, because a couple of the girls were from Bemidji State, so they played with each other the whole season. They knew how each other played, and
Mm-hmm.
then having to adjust because there was a couple of other high school girls, seniors. So
Mm-hmm.
having to adjust to that play and learning, okay, this is where this person wants to be on the field. This is how they want the ball given to them. So I guess just that part, because I know for MTA, it was most of the '05 girls that were on that team, so they have known each other for years. They knew how to
Mm-hmm.
play with each other. So I guess our team was just kind of everybody was from different places and not just one spot. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess learning how to play with each other.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean that's the advantage
Yeah.
the teams have when it's a lot of players who've
Yeah.
played, and even so that I'm sure that'd be a benefit for you all next year, like
Yeah.
having had some run out of it. What was your favorite game? Obviously, you ended winning against Troy Athletic, but I know you played a role in other games too. I mean,
Yeah.
so what memories stand out from the season?
My favorite. Okay, so we played our first game was against Salvo, and Emily Heslin is actually one of my coaches at Manitou. So
Uh-huh.
playing against my coach was kind of funny, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I stole the ball from her one time, and that was like my only goal. My only goal was to take the ball from her, and I did that. And I was like, I'm fine now. Like I'm happy. But I guess playing against her was amazing because she was like all over the place,
Mhm.
and usually at practice, she's just a coach. She's telling us what to do, and just watching her like explode on the field and like create
Mhm.
all these amazing plays. It was just really cool. And then I guess like the NTA game, I was nervous because I used to play there,
Mhm.
and so I like knew a bunch of the girls. And Caitlin McBean, their center defender, she
Uh-huh.
went to Breck, my school.
Uh-huh.
So she graduated from there and then went to Penn State. And like I've always looked up to her. She's
Mhm.
like been my idol, and like I want to go to Penn State. So playing against her was really cool because just watching her like look at the field and just being able to make these amazing like passes all the way from
Mhm.
one corner to the other was like out of this world. I thought it was so cool. So those two games, I guess, were probably my highlights of the season.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was a surreal thing to get to play against your
Yeah.
coach. It's kind of like when you get to do like a parent kid game at the end,
Yeah.
like when
Right.
you're little or something, and it's like
Yeah.
inevitably, yeah. Except this dad won't like tear his ACL playing. It's actually like a really good player. Yeah, I've watched
Yeah.
her for the Gophers for you, and it's
Yeah.
yeah, she's so fun to watch. That's cool.
Yeah.
She's
She
still playing
is.
there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you'll be so back to coaching, back to the coach and player relationship now
Yeah.
when the season
Yeah.
kicks
We
off.
said hi to each other at the end of the game, and she was like all sweaty, and she was like she ran a marathon or something. Like it was so funny. Yeah.
You guys, if it were a thing like in the pros, you would have traded kits, so you could have
Yeah.
gotten Haslam's
Yeah.
kit.
That would have been cool.
So tell me where you first started playing soccer. Like, what if you remember what the first team you played on, or when you first actually started playing?
So I first started playing when I was like 4 or 5 for like 4 years old. I was like playing for like some little team like in my area. And
Hmm.
then I went to Fusion at like 5, and I played at Fusion for 6 years.
Hmm.
And so I started to create connections with lots of the coaches, especially Lawrence, who's one of the head coaches
Hmm.
at Fusion. And we just loved it there. Like I had so many friends. Our team for like U9 was like undefeated the whole season. And
Hmm.
so just having that memory, like I always tell people like that was my favorite memory of playing at Fusion. Like
Okay.
being undefeated was so cool. And like I like as you get older, it's really hard to have an undefeated season
Yeah.
because everybody's so talented, everybody's so good.
Hmm.
So that was like really cool. So then I played at Fusion, and I was on the top team every year, but like I wasn't really like to be honest, I wasn't really as good as everybody else because I wasn't really into it. But
Hmm.
they kept on taking me because they were like, I see potential in this little girl. And my mom was like, okay, like, we'll do
Uh-huh.
it. But so there's that. And like, I quit all my other sports because I was doing like, as little kids, you do gymnastics, dance. So you do like all sorts of
Hmm.
stuff. So
Hmm.
I played at Fusion for a really long time, and then we played MTA in like the state championship. And
Hmm.
we MTA was our rivals, and we knew that they were really good, but like we had beaten them before, so we were like, okay, no big deal. But they had a different coach, and I remember this game very like it was very physical, and everybody was so into it. And I remember we beat them 1-0, and the coach
Hmm.
was just staring at me. I hadn't scored the goal, but I was taking the ball from everybody, and he was so mad at me. And I remember either it was the next week or that week, we got an email from him, and he was like, I want your daughter on our team. And we knew
Uh-huh.
that NCA was one of the best clubs in the state. So we're like, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And at like, I think it was U10 or maybe U11, we switched to MTA. And
Hmm.
we were on their pre ECNL team with Toby,
Hmm.
and that was really fun because I guess just playing it felt like a higher level, I guess. Like Fusion
Yeah.
was a good starter club. Like we loved it. It was amazing, but they didn't have GA yet or anything like that. So we were like, okay,
Hmm.
let's maybe if I go to MTA and I make the ECNL team, like that'll be amazing. So we went there, and then I made the ECNL team like a year later, and I had Dave Alberti, and so I played with them for a year, and it was a little, it was a little iffy, but then it was also like there was good moments to it too, like good team connections, and we loved winning. Like everybody loves to win, so
Hmm.
we had good wins, and we had a really good season there actually. And then I switched again to Salvo. I've been in like at every club. I feel like I feel like I could go on forever, but I switched to Salvo because Delaney had seen me, and so we were like, okay, well, for like tryouts, you should always have like one or two options, if
Hmm.
something doesn't work out. So I went and tried out at Salvo, and we love the idea of Girls Academy and like building up girls and their confidence and like just giving like that spectrum of soccer and like the world, I guess, because we did have lots of talks of like, okay, what does it mean to be a girl that plays a sport that is usually like, people view it as like only a men's sport.
Hmm.
So we had lots of talks about that, and I really liked that. So then I decided to switch from MTA to Salvo Girls Academy, and I played there for like half the year because halfway through the year I tore my meniscus.
Yeah.
So I did the repair, and I was out for like a year. So I stopped playing.
Wow.
The same season came around, they offered me a spot, and I was like, okay, I'll just take it. I might not be able to make a team at all because I'm injured.
Right.
So I stayed, and then high school season came around. So I just kind of left club soccer for a little bit and focused on high school soccer
Hmm.
at Breck. And to be honest, people didn't really have hope in us at
Uh-huh.
all because we never made it past sections, never made it to state. So people
Hmm.
were like, nobody wants to watch the Breck girls soccer.
Hmm.
But we had me, and we had a transfer from Atlanta. It was her senior year, and we had a lot of club girls actually, and we had a girl. Our goalie is from Salvo, and she's a
Hmm.
GA girl. So we were like, okay, maybe we could make something out of this. And
Hmm.
we ended up making it past sections.
Hmm.
And I remember at the beginning of the year, I was the scorekeeper or like the minutes girl. So I had to watch the time when people came in and out.
Uh-huh.
And I remember when I first got cleared by my PT that I could warm up with the team, I was so happy. Like I told my teammates, they were so happy. Like it was probably the best moment ever. Sure, it was like just warming up with the team, but it was like just the start of
Yeah.
something that I thought was going to be amazing. And so then um, that warming up stuff started happening, and the team started coming together because in the beginning it was like the older girls and like the younger girls.
Hmm.
So like we all started coming together, and then I got the clear to actually play. And so I remember my first game was against Blake, and that was it was like something for me, it felt like something out of a movie. Like I never thought that I would be able to play again, and being able to play in my first high school game, I thought that was
Hmm.
pretty cool. And we
Yeah.
ended up beating them, and they were our rivals. So
Right.
that was amazing. And then we continued the season. It was a couple ups and downs. Like we went through a lot of like um, losses, I guess, that we should have won here and there, and people were kind of sad. I guess that's how high school season goes, though.
Hmm.
And then we played against Fargo, I think, in one of our section games. We got placed in the lowest seed, but we were like the highest in it.
Hmm.
That makes any sense. And then we ended up beating them 5-0, and it was like the last like 2 minutes of the game, and I hadn't scored a goal the whole season, right? So
Hmm.
I get a ball over the top, and I'm running and running, and it's me and the goalie 1v1, and I hit it through the goalie's legs, and it goes right in the goal, and everybody's cheering, and it was a great moment. And I remember my teammates were like screaming on the sidelines. My coach was so happy. Everybody was so happy. And I guess that would probably be one of my favorite moments of soccer, like just my
Yeah.
soccer career, just being able to have that experience. Because I know everybody, like that first high school goal is like everybody's dream. So
Hmm.
that was probably the best moment I've had in high school soccer so far. And I still have 3
Yeah.
years left. And so then we made it past sections, and then we made it to state. So we were the lowest seed in the whole in state overall, and people
Right.
were like, "Oh, they're not going to win like at all." And I remember we played Holy, maybe it was
Angels.
no, it was St. Anthony actually. St. Anthony, and we were outside in the pouring rain. It was so cold, and
Mhm.
we didn't think that we were going to win, and we got scored on in the first half, and we were like, we're going to lose. Like, there's just no way. Like, there's these two girls that played for Blackhawks, and they're like juniors, they're about to be seniors now, and they were dominating the field. We were like, I mean, guys, but at least we made it to this
Uh-huh.
part. Maybe we can make it farther next year. And I remember it was my friend Nora. She got fouled like maybe 10 yards outside the 18,
Mhm.
and our teammate went up and took it, and she scored. And so we're like, okay, we're like pumped up, we got this. And then my other teammate, Katie Tyson, I remember she got a ball over the defense, and she dribbled in, she cut in, and she scored, and we won the game. And we were so happy because we had made it to the bank, and that was the first time Breck girls had ever made it to the U.S. Bank.
It
And
must be so. It's weird to play in there, right? I can't
it was
imagine. It's
it
so
was
big.
it was hot in there. We walked out onto the field. We were like, why is it so hot?
Yeah.
We expected to be air conditioned, to be nice. I was like, we could have played at the Allianz Field. This is
I guess they didn't. Maybe they
too
didn't turn
hot.
it on for the
I
state
don't
tournament.
think they did because they had like there was a game at like every hour, like every
Right.
other hour, I guess. And so then the boys were before us, and they come off and they're sweating. And then we see like boys crying, girls crying because they just lost their game, and
Right.
we're like all freaking out. And so we were like, oh gosh. So then we played Holy Family. Yes, then we played
Oh.
Holy Family. And they were the number 1 seed and we were the 5th seed.
Mhm.
So we had known that they had a really good season like the whole time, and they had this one girl that I think was up for Miss Soccer. I forgot her name.
Mhm.
She's going for hockey now for college. And then they had her, and they had this other like really good center mid, and so we were like, okay, this is it, guys. Like, we're done. We're done.
Mhm.
So we scored in the first minute, and that was okay. We were pumped up. We were like, we just scored on the number 1 seed, and
Mhm.
then they responded like with like 3 minutes later with a goal from like halfway, like half field, and
Yeah.
we were like, what just happened? Like, she just nailed it over our goalie's head, and we were like, okay. And then it just kept going, but we were dominating in their half. Like, they barely had it in our half, and we were like getting pumped up. And then we ended up scoring 4-1. And I remember it was like the last maybe 5 minutes of the game, and my teammates were like, Jojo, I can feel it coming on. Like, you're gonna score. And so, sure enough, our outside D comes up from one side, and she crosses it. And my friend Katie Tyson, she like hits it off of her leg, and the transfer from Atlanta, her name's Dylan Baker. I remember she was gonna kick it, and I was like screaming at her not to touch the ball. And I ran up and I shot it, and I scored the winner. And I was so happy. Everybody was like jumping in the air, and I thought that was like amazing because I just scored in the U.S. Bank Stadium,
Yeah.
and as
How
a friend,
cool.
and I thought that was really cool. And then we were all just happy from there. Like, the other team student section had already left, like they were done.
Mhm.
The other team was done. They like everybody was just, I guess their half was done, and
Yeah.
so that happened. And then it was time to go against Minnehaha, and we had known that Minnehaha was really good because we had lost to them twice, I think, and we had tied to them once. And so we were a little nervous because they had beaten a team that had Miss Soccer on it. And so we were like, okay, they're on a roll.
Mhm.
So game time comes, and we're all nervous. They have this amazing sophomore named Barrett, and that's like, it's not even the team is our rival, it's like she's our rival. Like, she is the team,
Okay.
basically. So we were like, okay, we're just gonna like cover her. We're just gonna make sure she doesn't get the ball, and we're just gonna, hopefully that works.
Uh-huh.
And so they ended up scoring, and we're like, okay. And then they scored. I think they scored again, and we responded with 2 more goals. And we're like, okay, it's tied. Maybe we might go into PKs. And I was up in line for PKs because my coach was like, okay, Jojo, you'll be the last kicker. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay. And I
Uh-huh.
didn't really want to go to PKs, but if that's what it came down to, I would do it. And I
Right.
had no choice. And then, unfortunately, Minnehaha responded with 2 more goals. So they made it 4-2. And
Mhm.
we ended up losing and getting second place in state. But honestly, that's like school history. Like we just made history for our school that the
Yeah,
girls soccer made it to state, made it past sections, made it to the championship,
yeah,
lost. That goes to show that we probably still have hope for the next 3 years. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
and
that,
a great experience for you going
yeah,
forward. Yeah, to be
right,
confident next time. Yeah.
right,
What
yeah.
tell me about I saw something about you getting to go to play in Spain once, maybe when you were younger at Getafe. That's something that was on a website that looked very basic from like your middle school, it looked like. Is that something you got to
Oh,
do?
yeah. So when I played at Corver, when I trained there, I got the opportunity. It was only like a small group of people that were offered. It was like me and like a couple, like maybe three other girls and like a couple of boys out of
Mhm.
our like group, and we got offered to go there. And but we weren't really sure if it was like going to be like legit or not. Like if it
Mhm.
was going to be like the experience we wanted or the experience we didn't. So we didn't go, but
Mhm.
we had heard from other people that it was a great experience and that we would go. Like you should go next time you get the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's too bad. Well, it just
Yeah.
caught my eye, but that's well, talk about your coach. Your coach Eddie Burrow used to play professionally, and that's a cool experience to have someone
Yeah.
who's gone through it, and so experiencing that. And I wonder for you, as someone who has aspirations of the game later, what's that been like working with Eddie this year?
It has been a roller coaster. That he is an amazing person. He's very funny. So when he comes to practice, he's very serious, but he also likes to make it fun at the same time.
Hmm.
I guess whenever like you can tell when he's explaining something, he's like in the game. It's like he's like on the field, running down the sideline or cutting in, and you can
Hmm.
tell he's really into it. And I guess having a coach that just one played professional soccer and two like loves the game, it's like amazing. Because I know there's like some people that have coaches that like aren't really so much like into the game, but
Hmm.
sometimes do understand it but don't. And I guess having that aspect in the club is like really good.
Hmm.
And also having our coach Z, also he played professional, and that him and Eddie played against each other, so they always give each other like a hard time at practice and
Yeah.
things like that. But having both of them as my coaches is really, I guess, just a great opportunity because not everybody gets that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love them as people too. They're like
Nice.
amazing. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Yeah, it is so cool. We get to when I do other coverage of like Minnesota Aurora and things like that.
Yeah.
We always have these former like women pro players who are ending up
Right.
in the Twin Cities and come in,
Yeah.
and a former NWSL player does it with me, which is Danny Foxhoven, which is so fun.
Mhm.
So it's amazing how many um, kids in the Twin Cities actually get who get special
Yeah.
opportunities like that.
Yeah.
So I want to take a quick break just to do a shout out to our sponsor, Pence Homes.
Okay.
This episode is brought to you by Pence Homes. Pence
Sounds
Homes is
good.
a real estate team with Keller Williams, and Matt personally
Yeah.
has experience working with Nate and Lydia when he sold and bought his home last fall. Nate has been a supporter of the local soccer community, including as an owner of Minnesota Aurora FC. Matt enjoyed working with one of their preferred lenders, Angie Shearer, with Luminant Financing. If you have house questions, selling, buying, need a furnace or flooring person, shoot them a message at pencehomes.com. All right, thank you. So I wanted to ask too. So when I mentioned that you're one of the younger players in
Yeah.
WPSL, but also it's the age where you start like getting recruited to
Mhm.
colleges, and that becomes probably, I would imagine, overwhelming. But so I saw you had an Insta story in Stanford, so it made me think if that was a visit, and how has the recruiting process been for you so far?
So since I am still 15 and I'm just now about to be a sophomore, I cannot be recruited, but I
Okay.
can be offered to go to ID camps if coaches have seen me at showcases or anything.
Okay.
But Stanford was not one that has seen me, but it is a very good school and a very good opportunity if I did get the option to play there. So
Mhm.
I just went there to go check it out, and I really, really enjoyed the ID camp. I learned a lot from the girls, and I also just got to play a lot. I just got to play the
Yeah.
sport that I love. But I have gotten a lot of colleges that I've reached out. I've gotten schools like Brown, Princeton, Dartmouth, Campbell University, Southern Alabama, and Cleveland.
All right.
And and one that was like Christian Baptist University.
Uh-huh.
I've never heard of that school,
Uh-huh.
but that's another one. And I guess just looking at that and realizing like all my hard work is paying off in these showcases and games, and like I tell myself like, okay, keep doing this, and once you can get recruited, it'll all pay off. Like you'll go somewhere.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, I mean, the trend seems like you must be someone who cares about academics as well to be considering school. So, I mean, what are your goals for college? Just to find, the best place for your soccer landing? Or it sounds like obviously you have a little bit more in mind when thinking of your college choice.
So I talked with the counselor at my school, like the athletics director, and he told me, and I also was like, okay, that's a really good point. I've heard that from lots of people, is like, if soccer doesn't work out at school, like where you're at, you also want the academic piece. So looking at colleges and seeing like, okay, they are really good at soccer, but like, do they have what I want for academics and all that? Because I guess I have seen people like say like, okay, I'm going to go far with soccer, and then it doesn't work out, and then they end up not liking the school that they're at. So like they're struggling to find a different school. So I guess like finding the middle. And that's what I also heard from the Stanford players too. They said that they've had lots of friends that like love their sport and then don't really like the academic piece, or like love the academics but don't like their sport. So I guess just finding like the connection with those two.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and it's tough to envision what you want in college when you're in when you haven't been there, like in terms of like, what should I want a professor to say to me? And some, some of it you can read, and some of it you just, you do the best you can, but you're not going to miss. I think you're doing good if you're picking between, Dartmouth and Brown and Princeton. Parents are going to be traveling to watch you play, but so I'm curious to you. So we cover the WPSL, and we also cover the Minnesota Aurora team, which is new. So I'm just curious how much you've seen about them, and seeing just like the attention and attendance they get. How much does it like either excite or motivate you? Like, this is an opportunity for players in my neighborhood.
So I heard that there was like a Minnesota team for women's, and to be totally honest, I just now heard about it.
Oh, yeah.
I guess it's just because like social media, like I feel like sometimes people rely on that a lot, and I'm one of those people. I guess I'm gonna be totally honest. And as a soccer player, I was very disappointed just now hearing about it. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I just now heard about it. But I love how they're doing with like the season, and just watching like their highlights, and like I feel like they're getting like the same like edits, I guess, and like highlight videos. I feel like that the NWSL is like Alex Morgan and all those people, and so I feel like that is really good and really amazing. I also feel like people don't really focus on like national women's soccer, I guess, and like the states. So I feel like people need to really focus on that, and also men's, but I feel like women's needs to get up there a little bit more. So and I also really like how some of the players actually train where I train at Pura Vida. And so being able to see them there, it's like really cool. I kind of get a little fangirly a little bit. I'm like, hi. So I guess that's pretty cool. So.
Yeah, that's a cool place. I visited there actually this spring. They invited us, and it's cool to see players doing, and it's cool for players who want to get into coaching. Like they get to practice being a coach, which is really cool.
I love it there. It's like amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the thing that's cool about Aurora is like, it shows that if there's exposure, like you said, if there's exposure on the game, people want to support the women's game. So, it's like, that's what makes it cool, is that putting it in a big stadium, saying it's going to be on, the CBS streaming. It's like, okay, well, if you give women's sports a chance, people are desperate. I mean, they sold out their tickets. They sold out, they raised $1 million and they had to close it. Like people wanted to keep investing in the team. So it's I'm sure there's other players seeing that, thinking, because those players are getting really good exposure. There was a player on the Sports Center top 10. So I mean, it was Morgan Sport. Yeah. So that's wild, everyone. So that was cool to see, and validating for people who, that's why we try to watch games. Like we just, on Equal Time, we just will stream clips, because if people get to see stories and like they get to meet JoJo Weissman, then they could maybe see some highlights. It's like, that's how you become a fan. So yeah, it's exciting. What's the first soccer game you ever remember watching, or either in person or like on TV?
The first in-person one was actually the U.S. women's team
Yeah.
in Minnesota. I remember at MTA we got the honor to bring out the flags and stand on the field with a
Yeah.
couple of our parents, and that was really cool because Megan Rapinoe and Alex Morgan were right by me, and I was
Yeah.
freaking out, but I had to hold the flag. And that memory of just being on the field and being there was really, really cool. I remember, I think they played like some team from like I think it was maybe like Jamaica or
Yeah.
yeah, I remember, and they just like blew them out. I
Hmm.
mean, that always happens, but it was really cool just like being there and watching them because I know some people don't really get that like
Yeah.
on to like go and watch the team in person. So being able to do that was really cool.
Yeah.
But I think my first game I ever watched, like, on TV was I think maybe, like, a men's team that, like, just popped up. I was like,
Hmm.
"Okay, I'll watch this," because like, I feel like the more you watch the game and whether it's in person, on
Hmm.
your TV, phone, wherever, like, the more you learn about the game and the more you learn, like, how to play different styles in different ways.
Hmm.
So, I guess yeah.
Cool. That's yeah. That might have been at that game. Yeah, it is. It is so cool how many
Yeah.
that we've had the U.S. women here a couple times because we have
Yeah.
Allianz. That's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, it
But
is.
the well, and Megan, I bartend at the Blackheart Bar by there, where there's the Megan Rapinoe mural that she came
Oh,
and
yeah.
signed, and
Yeah,
she's visited it, and it's yeah, it's a cool thing.
it is.
Who's your favorite soccer player?
For women's, I would have to say Marta or Alex Morgan,
Hmm.
and then for men's, I would have to say Neymar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some consistencies in that. Is that because
Yeah.
do you like to dribble people off the ball or what?
I like to just like I guess dribble people or like have the ball sent over the defense and then like I just run onto it. But recently Eddie has been putting me in the middle. He like loves me in the middle and I do good at it, but it's not like my forte because like I like to just run. Like I tell people like I like to just run after the ball and just
Yeah.
get it and cross it in. So that's my favorite part.
Right on.
Yeah.
So there was one cool thing this summer, and it was a player from Minnesota Aurora who kind of spurred it. But Bayless Flynn, who's a high school player at Edina, she
Yeah.
became the first high schooler to get a name, image, and
Yes.
likeness deal. And obviously, you're working hard in the game, so that you can go to
Yeah.
college and everything else. But also, it is cool that when people put so much time and effort into something, they can be rewarded. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious if she got it from a bank, which is amazing too. But it's like not like I'm wondering for you if you could get any NIL deal while you're still in high school, who would it be with? Because it could be someone who could get free stuff from, or like, free access. I don't know.
When I first saw her post that on Insta, like her like saying
Mhm.
that, I was like, that's amazing because I remember watching her when we were at MTA because our game was done one time, like in a
Mhm.
showcase. We were like, okay, let's go watch the O4s. And she was just dominating. Like, she's amazing. And she totally deserves to get that opportunity, I
Uh-huh.
think. Like, she's just an amazing player and an amazing person. She's super sweet in person.
Mhm.
For me, I guess just anybody, I guess any deal. I'm just happy as long as I get free stuff,
It's
to
like,
be
it's like I
honest.
just keep thinking like Chipotle or like some gear. I mean, or like a
Right.
training so you could get a bunch of
The
gear.
idea of just that, like, just getting stuff for free, I mean, I'm fine. Like, I
Yeah.
saw, Rose Lavelle got something with Chipotle, and I was like,
You're
"Eating
like, I'm in.
Chipotle all the time sounds really good."
Right.
So,
That's what I think it will, and it's taking its time where it's like, it's in college football and college basketball, but like women's college basketball is some of the biggest NIL stuff. And so it's like it'll eventually work its way into, the other sports too. And you'll see,
yeah,
because it's not like I don't think we'll see women's soccer players getting $1 million, but it's like
yeah.
all the different opportunities. It's so cool. I mean, it's
Yeah,
so,
it
yeah,
is.
why not?
It is.
Free Chipotle.
I
I'm
know,
upset.
right?
Awesome. Well, all right, and so how much time do you have off till you have to start your next season? Is it high school or in the fall with Manitou?
Um, High school in the
Hmm.
fall, and then Manitou.
Cool. Right
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
All right. Well, Breck's coming back. The
Yeah, it is. Like we have a lot of new stuff like with captains practices and like
hmm.
our captains now want us to do lifting
Yeah.
over the summer and then we want to do like drills so then we feel more connected as a team
Hmm.
and being able to like just pass evenly on the field and like okay, like if we panic, this is what we know what to do. So
Hmm.
I guess just having more of a connection than we did this year. Like a stronger one on the field.
Awesome. We'll keep our eyes out. I appreciate you joining, JoJo. Appreciating getting to hear about your summer with WPSL, and we'll have to keep watching because I'm sure you'll start to get recruited pretty heavily, and then you'll get to go on your visit. So we'll maybe we'll have to hear about that. Awesome. Thank you.